welcome to another episode of 10 for the Chairman. Actually, the last episode we will do in 2015. It's been a pretty eventful year. We've done a lot of stuff. We had the Squadron 42 performance capture shoot earlier this year, which went fantastically, and I'm actually really looking forward to pulling all that together and having you guys take that story or journey next year. And we launched 2.0 not that long ago, and still has some stability issues, but I think a lot of people are having fun. I mean, it's great to see everyone share their stories and videos, and so it's the very basic part of that shows you sort of the potential of what Star Citizen will be and how it will feel, just having that freedom being in first person and being able to do what you want, wander around space stations, get into ships, fly places, get out EVA, wander around other stations, and of course we're going to be expanding that obviously to the planet side and seamlessly landing, which was what we showed in the live stream which we did last week, which we're all pretty proud of. Seems like you guys liked it too. We're pretty excited because the tech's actually pretty far along, so we'll be able to be using parts of it in the not too distant future, and then we've got stuff to just go a whole nother level. So this is just the beginning. The Frankfurt team, who are those guys are great. I mean, they we've got a large amount of the original team that built the original Crisis and even Far Cry back in the day. So, not everybody, but a good number of our key sort of engine architects are also engineered CryEngine, and so obviously they know it well. And these are things that they've sort of been wanting to do and dreaming about for quite a long time. So it was actually one of the reasons why they joined, is because it's the new challenge. So it's been kind of a bit of our skunk works. They've also been helping a lot of the other basic engine features that we have in terms of making it scale and be able to work with a much bigger universe and much greater distances, which is kind of what you can already see in 2.0. So next year is going to be pretty exciting. We're heads down, be continually delivering stuff to the alpha to add more functionality and content, plus obviously finishing off Squadron 42. So I'm looking forward to next year. It's going to be cool. It's been cool so far. So, and the live stream was, other than my playing incident in 2.0, was I think pretty fun and good. And it was nice to have John phone in from New Zealand. So anyway, it was great. And obviously, I'm looking forward to a bit of a Christmas break, but then get right back in the saddle. So, for those of you who don't know, this is where I take 10 questions from the subscribers. The subscribers are the subset of our community that contribute money every month to allow the enhanced community content we do. So the show, Around the Verse, a bunch of other shows that we do like Bug Smashers or Ship Shape, and also Jump Point, which is, I think probably be out by now, or should be anyway. But anyway, Jump Point is, a 40 to 70 page monthly magazine that we do that goes behind the scenes, talks about how we build certain ships or work on certain game mechanics, has some lore about the universe, and also has stories set in the universe. And it's really quite a cool read, and we have other features for subscribers like some merchandise and stuff like that I think reward people for supporting all this extra community content, which goes a long way to informing and keeping everyone up to date with developing such a hugely ambitious game. And we wouldn't be able to do that without all the backers out there, so thank you all for that. And now I should get on with answering the 10 questions. So the first one comes from Graham, who asks, do you have any plans to introduce additional star systems to the baby PU? Or are you planning to use the Stanton system as your final testbed? So we're going to flesh out the Stanton system and probably take some liberties with the Stanton system vis-a-vis what will be in the final game, just mainly because we're going to bring in the jump points a little later on. So we want to sort of flesh out going down to a planet, landing on different areas and traveling between locations, planets in one system, and trading and venturing in combat, and then we'll open up an additional system or two with jump points and stuff like that. So there will definitely, the way I look at it is we sort of start with Alpha 2.0 and we'll move along and be sort of building out that system, and then probably open up another system or so with a jump point, and then at some point we'll sort of clean it all up and make it all work or be completely sort of copacetic with the proper universe. We're already trying to make it like Crusader, so as I said, we're just going to take a few liberties just to compress some of the sort of play things you can do in this one system that would probably more like we showed going down and landing at Levski, which is on Delmar, which is this large asteroid in the Nix system, and we're most likely going to put that in our sort of Crusader SC Alpha for everyone to sort of test out the seamless approach and landing and all the rest of stuff. And then when we have jump points, we'll now move it over and it will be a Nix. So that's kind of the process that we're going to do with it. We're looking forward to getting that going. Looking forward to being able to have people sort of buy and sort of trade things and do more than what right now it's just sort of a very free-form sandbox. But you can see the potential already, and getting things like running missions to deliver goods from point A to point B, or protect ships running goods from point A to point B, are all very easy, low-hanging fruit. Building in sort of things like distress beacons that players can trigger when they need to be helped or saved, which would generate a mission that could show up on a player's sort of mission log. So we sort of have a plan where we have the overall things that we want in the game, and then we're also looking at some shorter term sort of kind of what you want to call easy win gameplay stuff that already kind of works with the system. So anyway, that's the plan, and we have a lot of people now. This past year we've had a fair amount of people too, all working pretty hard on it. But I have to say everyone's incredibly pumped and excited, just because the response for 2.0 and the response for the procedural tech that we showed, have the company on a high. So thank you all for liking what we showed you. All right, next question comes from Blue, who asks, what is your personal history with the Hornet? What inspired it, and what do you like, love, hate, and so forth? Well, obviously, the Hornet was the starter ship in Wing Commander, and so having a Hornet in Star Citizen was sort of a nod to that. In Wing Commander, it was sort of the light ship. It ended up when I sort of was designing the Hornet and what we were doing, it kind of felt more like a medium fighter because we had the sort of turret on the middle of it, and just felt like it was a much more heavy-hitting fighter than the light fighter would be. But that's essentially the history. A lot of the ships originally in Wing Commander was inspired by sort of World War II ships and planes, and war at sea and all the rest of stuff. So you definitely see some nods to present day fighters or older fighters. Whether it's whether it is the Hornet, right, or other various ships that we have. There was the Sabre. Obviously, there hasn't been a Gladius, but generally, a lot of times we sort of are doing nods to things that you would know in the past that were a historical ship or plane or something that you then can sort of project into the future. So anyway, that's the Hornet for you. All right, next question is from Citizen 2900, who asks, I'm not sure if this question has been asked before, but will there be physics, rigged props and objects in the general universe and on planets that we can interact with, such as glasses and cups that can be knocked over, rubbish bins that can be knocked over and moved or cleaned up again, etc.? So that's definitely the case. If you go around Kovalik's shipping hub now, there are definitely floating items that are all rigid entities that you can push around, and there's been some pretty cool videos made. One video was taking the noodle dispenser machine and pushing it out and loading it into a constellation and flying it back to Port Olisar, which was pretty awesome. So essentially, yes, absolutely. We actually had more in Crusader originally when we were developing it, and we took some of them out mainly because we still got to work on the networking for all these rigid entities to sort of be efficient, so they're not always sending messages. Like, because basically, if a cup's sitting on this table and it's not moving, there's no reason for it to say update. There's no reason for it to do anything over the network. CryEngine doesn't really work that way, so we've been spending a lot of time, and we still are spending a lot of time trying to fix and refactor that. You're sort of seeing problems that come with sort of the CryEngine old way of doing it, because really it was built as a sort of single player game, and so a lot of the updating is sort of very sort of like player centric. But the problem we have is, so for instance, if you're there's 16 players on the Crusader map and they all go to different comms arrays, well, they're all triggering different AI in different spots on the server, and it's running all these AI, and then it's also telling every single client what all these AI are doing. But if I'm flying around and I'm at comm array A over here and someone's at comm array B over there, I don't really need to know what's happening in comma ray B. I just need to know what's happening around my area. And so we have to sort of refactor the updating of the objects and also the network messaging, so it's more specific to what people's view is, and that's the sort of ongoing, network task that we have. And part of that is going to have a more efficient network version for simple rigid bodies, so you can have the cups on the table and you can have more props around, because the idea would be to physicalize chairs, props like that, so you can push them around or whatever. If you're flying in your ship and gravity goes off, then if you haven't bolted things down, they could float and all the rest of stuff. So that is definitely our goal, and you will see more of that as time goes on. Okay, next question comes from Kremer, who asks, concerning merchandise, can we expect new stuff? For instance, replicas of posters used during live events such as CitizenCon, or artwork such as those currently available as wallpapers. Well, we definitely have new merchandise that's coming next year. Obviously we've made kind of a bit of a sort of highlighter to do about the SciTech joystick and keyboard and mouse combo. So look for us to be announcing that, and price points and sorting all that out in the new year. That's a big one. Jump Point, the second volume just went on sale. I think we announced it during our live stream. Looking at ways to do posters and prints for subscribers as well. So we just need to figure out how to sort of do that efficiently and fulfill it properly, because you kind of want to do those sort of things on demand, but they, the whole community team's actually working pretty actively on that. So there's going to be a bunch of stuff for that down the road, and that's something that we kind of want to push a bit more and double down on, because I think people really like it. Okay, next question comes from Ostron, who asks, many of the mechanics with specialized ship, e.g. repair, mining, salvage, also seem to have equivalent space stations in the verse based on lore or designs, Shubin mining station, for example. Will there be opportunities for players to work the same jobs on planet or station-based locations? That's a good question. I don't know whether we will be doing that off the bat. So we're definitely going to have NPC locations that go about and doing, like mining on a big scale, like Shubin would be a good example. But I'm, on the early side of the implementation, I don't think we're going to sort of allow a player to just become a worker on a big Shubin mining station. Now, I do think what could happen is a player in a small mining ship, not even a big one like the Iran, because we've also been talking about doing some smaller mining stuff, could get a contract from Shubin to start mining in an asteroid field and bring it back, and they'll pay a certain amount for those minerals. So you will get employed by NPC corps as well as player corps in the game, but whether you're just, you could be the security guard on Shubin Station, I don't think that's something that we're going to be implementing anytime soon, although we do have conversations about sort of career paths, like, hey, what happens if you want to be be an advocacy agent, or what happens if you want to be in the military? And so that's a long-term thing that we want to sort of address, because we think it'd be kind of cool. But in a short-term thing, what we do on a player side would allow you to do jobs or missions for those sort of bigger NPC organizations. Next question comes from Mark Lantors, who asks, are there any plans to build in a system enhancement to anchor a ship to an asteroid while landed on it? This is an important issue for miners. I don't know whether you're going to need to anchor a ship to an asteroid, because if you're out in space and there's no external forces, your ship should just stay there and while you're working on the asteroid, and a lot of times you'll also be in your ship while you're mining the asteroid. So I'm not sure we definitely need the anchor thing. Potentially, if there was issues with that, then perhaps we can. It's not technically that difficult to do, but in the sort of first iteration of the mining design, that's not something that we were considering, because we were basically thinking that the ship's going to stay there right next to the rock, and you'll mostly be on your ship doing the mining, and then if you EVA'd out to sort of, go after a really sort of small diamond seam or something, the ship will sort of be floating there in space, which you can kind of see now. If you park your ship next to an asteroid, EVA out and fly around, it's still there. So in terms of anchoring it to it, I don't know. There could be a concern about someone stealing it, but we're going to put in enhanced sort of key lock stuff in for the game, so people can't just walk in and start up your ship without doing something. Next question comes from Oates Liez, who asks, can you explain what kind of behavior would be seen as griefing in Star Citizen? You mentioned putting griefers into instances together, but what behavior would flag you for that, and would that behavior eventually get you banned? Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, the typical griefing is what you don't want to have happen is someone just spending their whole time harassing the new players that don't quite understand how to play yet or the system and taking advantage of them. So, like for instance, if someone was hanging, right on the edge of the green zone, and when a new player flies out, say in Crusader, and they just blast them to bits, and they keep doing that, that would be kind of griefing. If someone deliberately starts crashing their ships into other people on the landing pad in the green zone in Crusader, that would be kind of griefing. In the bigger game, in the final game, we're going to set up this whole idea of bounties, and when you've been doing sort of antisocial behavior and in certain areas, so like in UE controlled space, if you just attack someone, especially if you continue to do it, it's likely that your ID code is going to get broadcast, and then at that point there's a bounty on your head, and not only will NPCs go after you, but now there is authorized PvP on you. So what will happen is, if you engage in that, you'll be fighting NPCs and other players that will not have a penalty for now going after you. So we're hoping that a few systems like that will help with making the whole system not encourage people to sort of troll beginning players. We're still going to work on that. It's obviously stuff we've got ideas that we're going to put in. We're going to try to, adjust depending on what's happening, and just go from there. I mean, and as far as behavior getting banned, I mean, if we note someone that like they continually grief, then that would probably be something that would be part of their player record, and then part of the matchmaking could be potentially, well, let's just put people that grief in the same instance with each other, so they could just grief each other. I think there's kind of other elements that we can do in that case to not encourage the behavior. Let me put it that way. I mean, we definitely want people to be pirates. We do not want to prevent PvP in the places where PvP can or should happen, but we don't want people just harassing other people to hurt their game experience for the lulz, so to speak. And that's always difficult because this happens in every MMO, and so we're going to try our best, and not sure that we've necessarily got always the right solutions, but we've got some ideas that I think are pretty good, and we'll go from there. All right, next question comes from Silver Fox, who asks, what are your thoughts on having the ability to stream what's been seen on another player's Star Citizen screen via a helmet or ship nose in-game camera module? This could be used for scouting, exploring, data hacks / interception, and FPS CQB video streams. So I'm not quite sure if we mean stream, like just stream as in Twitch stream. I mean, in the game, like one of the features that we have on a roadmap that I'm actually fairly keen on is the ability to have, so you can stream in the game. If you want to, you can sort of turn streaming off and on. So think of it a bit like the PlayStation sharing. So, the ultimate idea would be I'm flying around. I'm like, oh, I'm going to stream this. And if I was on the website and I was looking at the, user icon or ID for me, you could have like a little red dot next to it which means, oh, well, look, he's streaming, and you could click on him and you could open up and see what he's streaming, which would be pretty cool. Also, I wanted to have sort of cameras set around the universe so you could sort of almost see traffic cams of what's happening. So we'll put sort of spectator cams that will stream in the universe that you can be on the web. You can go to our site and go, oh, look, what's happening in Terra right now? What's happening in orbit around Crusader? So those are all sort of kind of pretty cool streaming options. We have the Reliant News Van, which we just announced during the live stream, and one of the sort of kind of more fun, smaller professions is kind of the streamer, the news reporter, or whatever, where you could stream action that's happening and go around, and that's kind of what the Reliant News Van's for. And the idea would be to sort of film action, and you could stream it, and obviously we could see it on a website, but also we were thinking that maybe some of it could be streamed in game, so to speak. So like if you were in a bar on the TV, maybe that kind of thing is streaming. And we want to additionally do the same for races. So like we really do want to make the Murray Cup something that is in fiction and happens, and they have a whole series of races that gets competed over a season, and there's qualifying rounds and all the rest of the stuff. And we have a competition for it in Star Citizen that's in fiction that you can watch in a bar, or you could also watch on the site for the races, and people compete and train for it. And ultimately, we would want to do the same with Arena Commander and Star Citizen, because they're meant to be in fiction games, so we're sort of going to do it in sort of esports, a game within a game kind of thing. So I hope that answered the question. I'm not quite sure if it just meant you just wanted to see the view of another player in your view in the actual game itself. So potentially we may allow that because that's not that difficult. You just switch their viewpoint. But that would sort of depend on the equipment or item. I mean, we already have a mini version of that because if you're in the sort of rear operator seat of the Super Hornet and you operate the turret, you're now seeing the turret's point of view, not actually your point of view sitting in the cockpit. So there's already a little bit of the sort of looking at some other viewpoint in the game via that. All right, hope that answers the questions. Phoenix Rising asks, will we be able to have kill boards in Star Citizen? Will we be able to have organization mates compete on the kill board and track their stats in game? So we'll definitely be tracking things like the amount of sort of kills that you have and sort of general stats like that would sort of make sense in fiction, and they would be available, say if you're part of an organization, people could see what you had done. I think you would have the ability to sort of be able to broadcast it or not broadcast it if you want. So you can say, no, I don't want people to see my sort of kill, my number of kills or kill to death ratio, or well, actually kill to revive ratio it really would be. But if you do, then people could see it and it can be part of the organization stuff. So I would say yes as far as that goes. All right, last question comes from Void Hunter, who asks, Star Citizen is shaping up to be a deep and ever-expanding game. What systems are in place for the drop in play style? What is the average play time you are working with when you are designing the game? So I'm not 100% sure what the question means in terms of what systems are in place for the drop in play style. Maybe the question's revolving around, like, if I sit down for a session, how long is that session? Is it 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 5 hours? In terms of play, I would think that we would design missions or things that you can do to be sort of 30 minutes to an hour of sort of game time, and then it's sort of up to you. I mean, I don't think you can get in for 5 minutes and do much thing meaningful. I think it's a minimum of 30 minutes, but I think you should be able to do missions or get stuff done 30 minutes to an hour, and then it's just up to you how much kind of stuff you want to get done. I mean, it all depends. I mean, there can be some stuff that's fairly quick, and there's obviously some stuff if you're like delivering cargo from one side of the universe to the other one, which would be more of a commitment. I mean, you don't have to do it all in one play session. You could be sort of jumping your way across the galaxy and getting out of scrapes with pirates or whatever, and landing on a planet, saving it, and then coming back the next day and continuing the journey. We're not sort of particularly sort of metric driven, so it needs to be a 5-minute play session or a 30-minute play session, which I sort of know that they, on mobile, people are very focused on, well, it needs to, you get something out of it in 5 minutes. But for us, I think it's like at least 30 minutes to an hour and more, obviously, would be sort of the minimum kind of like time we think that if you just get in, get your stuff sorted, go out in space and do something, it'll take you. Those are the last 10 questions for 2015. Wanted to thank everybody for backing the game, supporting us. I mean, we're now over 101 million, which is an unbelievable number. In my wildest dreams when I started this, I thought 10 million was a crazy number that like no one would get to. So being at 101's a whole different thing. I mean, I will say, and I've said this many times before, the money that we bring in is what we are investing back in the game. You can kind of see it in terms of how we've grown the staff and how we're investing in some longer term technology that I think will really pay off and be able to sort of set Star Citizen apart from a lot of other games you possibly could play. It takes a bit of time to do it at that level, but we have to engineer things right and to scale. And I fully believe at the end of the day, the experience will be something incredibly special. I'm already super excited just seeing some of the basic nuggets that we've got, and I know a lot more stuff that we're bringing in, and just there aren't enough days in the week, enough hours in the day to get everything done. But it's certainly not because anyone's slacking around here. Everyone works. This is for all my years in game development. We have an incredibly talented bunch of developers here that really, really are dedicated and really work hard. And they're very thankful, as I am, for your guys' support. So I just want to sign off wishing you happy holidays. I hope you all have a great time, and see you next year. Hey guys, thanks for watching 10 for the Chairman. If you guys would like to see more episodes, go here. If you guys would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel and always keep up to date with all our video content, go here. And if you guys would like to watch episodes of Around the Verse, go here, please. And I will see you in the verse.
This video made possible by the ICC Stellar Surveyors and subscribers like you.